Okay, back again. So we've now reached the point where it's time for Donald Trump, if he hasn't already done so, to call James Comey in for a little powwow. Coming on the heels of this most recent event out in Berkeley, where Milo was forced to cancel his speech, and then, of course, the riots that occurred afterwards, it's becoming pretty obvious, and it has been obvious to me and many other people for quite some time, that these are not organic uprisings of people just responding to things that Trump's doing that they don't like. These are well-organized events, and we know who's behind them all. George Soros, of course. So it's time, it's beyond time, for Trump to call Comey in and to begin looking into this massive, it's not one organization, it's many organizations, all connected together, mostly funded by Soros and his friends. And clearly they're building a massive, massive list of people who they can send out to riot at the drop of a hat. It's pretty obvious because whenever you see these riots, you can look in the paper or you can look on Craigslist and you will see that they are advertising, offering $15 an hour to people to go hold signs and participate and protest. These are paid protesters, many of them. And then there's some who are actual operatives. Their job is to mix in with the larger element of the protesters who are just a bunch of dummies getting paid 15 bucks an hour to go hold a sign and walk up and down the street and march or do whatever, while the more radical professionals inside that element carry out the violence and the property damage. And this is going to continue. It's going to continue on and on and on. It is not going away. It's not just a little post-election sadness here or anger. This is a concentrated effort to take down Donald Trump and to hurt the country, quite honestly. And Soros is the main man behind it. It's time, Mr. Comey. And I want to say, I wish Trump would have asked Comey to resign. I don't like Comey. I think he's been compromised. I've studied the man, and believe me, if you don't believe me, Google James Comey and spend about an hour or two just studying this guy, and you'll find out that he's not on our team. Okay, he's on the other team, and I don't look for Comey to be very effective. He should have already been working on this. These people should already have been shut down. But as you see, it's not happening. So if I'm Donald Trump, I'm going to call Comey into my office and say, look, these protests are not just protests. They're a lot more than protests. And they're not just organic people who are rising up because they're not liking my policies or what have you. This is a lot more, there's a lot more going on than that. And it is very dangerously close to crossing the line into domestic terrorism. And it's an organized effort, not just here in the United States, but this is an international group of criminals who are behind this. And, you know, for myself and many other people, we've been watching this and we're just wondering, when are they going to shut these people down? If you take off the head of the snake, then you will see a lot of this die down. Then you'll see very, very few protests. There'll be in much smaller numbers, and you won't have all the violence and all the property damage going on. You know, so it is time, and I certainly hope that Donald Trump calls James Comey in and tells him to get on it, because if you follow the money, and again, it's not hard. We're talking about the FBI here. If I can go online and I can look at Craigslist postings in these cities where these riots are happening, and you can see where they're advertising for the people to come and be paid money to participate in these events, then that tells you that there's an organization. It tells you there's some serious money behind this organization. We're not talking a few $100,000. We're talking tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars behind this. And it's not going to go away. It's going to get worse. It's time to nip it in the bud. Now, I'm sure that when Putin sits down with Trump, he's going to inform Trump exactly what they think about Soros. And I don't know if Donald Trump is aware that George Soros was behind the events that led to the situation in Ukraine. I don't know if he's aware that the same was true in South Ossetia and other places around the world. Soros and his group are deeply involved all around the globe in these types of events. And they're creating chaos and disorder and mass hysteria. And it's going to get out of hand. And it's not going to get any better. It's time for James Comey to do his damn job. You know, back in the 60s, the CIA, the FBI, local law enforcement, all sorts of other groups within the government were constantly investigating the Vietnam War protesters. They were convinced, both the Johnson and administrations were convinced, that these Vietnam War protesters were paid by the commies, by the Russians, by the Chinese, or whoever, by the American communist movement. And it's true, there were a percentage of those people who were professionals. The commies were certainly putting up money, organizing, and things like that. But a lot of the protests and a lot of the protesters during the Vietnam era, they were legitimate people protesting the war. There's always going to be the professional elements involved. But this is at a whole new level. You know, the Vietnam protesters certainly, I think, shortened that war, but I mean, the war went on for 11 years. The protests started as soon as we put ground troops in there. In fact, actually, when we started the aerial bombings, the protests started. But once we put the ground troops in, then the protests really got much, much larger. And they did have some effect, which is good, because we never should have gone into that war in the first place. It was never a winnable war. But in the case of what's going on now, it's this is far darker, far uglier, far more devious, far more sinister, far more dangerous, not just to the United States, but to the world. We're dealing with some very heavy players with a lot of money who've proven that they are willing to destroy countries to achieve what they're trying to do, which is destabilization and chaos, to try to save, at this point, the New World Order, which is rapidly in decline. They're not going to back down. They're going to double down on everything they're doing. It's time for James Comey to do what intelligence agencies and what the FBI and what law enforcement should be doing, which is to look into these groups. And if you find that they are being professionally funded, and if they are a part of the training and the organization of these people, if they're training them to go out and commit, you know, we're not talking about training them how to hold a sign and how to keep from getting arrested while attending a peaceful protest. No, they're teaching these people and training these people and motivating these people to destroy property, public and private, to assault innocent people on the streets. So we have an element of violence and property destruction. That means that this is no longer just a protest. It's organized crime. And James Comey needs to investigate this and get to the bottom of it. And we know who is at the head of the head of the snake here. It's George Soros. Soros should be arrested. He should be shut down. His organizations should be shut down. All these organizations can be shut down by the FBI. They're engaged in criminal activity. Shut them down. And you better do it, and you better do it soon. And if I'm not counting on Comey to do this on his own. This is going to require Donald Trump calling that lame-ass FBI director Comey into his office, putting his finger in his face and say, listen, I want you to investigate this. I want you to find out who's bankrolling it, who's organizing it. I want you to find out every bit of it. I want you to bring me the details. And if we have criminal activity, which we do, we need to shut it down. Simple as that. It's the best thing Trump can do, because this stuff is not going away. And it's only going to get worse. And who knows how bad out of hand it's going to get. Because at some point they're going to kill somebody, or at some point people are going to be tired of sitting back watching, as we did this past weekend. We saw the protesters doing the property damage, assaulting people. At the same time, we're watching all these cops do nothing. You can't blame the cops. They're following orders. They were probably told, do not screw with these people. Let them go. You can watch them. You can observe them. But you can't arrest them. You can't take them down. You can't do anything. Just sit there and watch them. So this shouldn't be happening. This should not be happening. So obviously, this is a very organized effort, and it's there are some very powerful people, wealthy people behind it. It's time to get a handle on it and shut it down. I hope Trump administration gets this message, and I hope they get busy on this without delay. All right, so y'all have a good one today. Have a good weekend. If you like the video, give me a like, share it with your friends on social media, subscribe if you'd like. I try to do a video every day. I average about 5-7 videos a week. So anyway, I try to keep you posted on all the things that we all need to be informed about. So thanks for tuning in. You all have a safe and a happy weekend. Alrighty, bye.